Welcome to Porch Play Chat, sponsored by the American Association for Promoting the Child's Right to Play, or a shortened name that is helpful, IPA USA. IPA USA is the USA affiliate of the International Play Association. As part of our efforts to promote play, we've introduced these Porch Play Chats, which are conversations with people who are just as passionate about play as we are. So I'm Deb Lawrence, and I'm the president of IPA USA. And Porch Play Chats can always be found on the IPA USA website. They can be found on our YouTube channel. So if you subscribe to our YouTube channel and to our Instagram page and to our Facebook page, which are right in the top right-hand corner of our website at ipausa.org, magically every Monday a new Porch Play Chat appears for you. So I hope you'll sign up and subscribe to the YouTube channel and be a friend on our Facebook page so that you can stay up to date on what's happening here in the US. So joining us on the porch today is Lisa Murphy. Hi, Lisa.
Hi, but I feel the need to say the reason I'm not really on the porch is because another hurricane's coming through. So you get my blurred background, because if you saw what was really back there, you'd probably have an anxiety attack. There's a lot of books and paper back there's like Piaget's office back there. But yeah, so I'm joining you inside today.
Inside today, she has a beautiful porch, not a
it might be underwater in an hour.
I know. I'm a little worried about you. At the moment, fingers crossed. This is her second hurricane in what, a month or something awful?
6 weeks, yeah.
Yes. And also joining us on the porch today is Korri Loew. And Korri is coming to us from Northwest Indiana, where one of her most important jobs has been to be a stay-at-home mom for several years. But she's taught preschool in preschool programs as well as in Head Start programs for 8 years. And now she's working on recess and has a really interesting topic today that I'm very excited. So Lisa's going to tell us more about that topic.
I am, because Korri emailed me a while back, I think even over the summer it was, and she said, I have to share with you my win. I had a big win. And in her email, she elaborated about what was happening at the time at one of the schools that she was recess aid. I don't know if that's the right way to say it. And just what she saw happening and the action that she took in order to change it to be more playful. And I asked if she would be willing to be on the porch today and walk us through and share with us, honestly, a true success story. So I'm going to turn it over to you, Korri.
All right. I'm Korri, and like they said, I'm a recess aide at an elementary school in our area. Both my sons go there, so it's awesome for me. But the issue that we were having last year is that we have 3 horizontal bars that are just there, and the children were hanging upside down on them, and that was
as one does.
Yes. And my whole thing is that this is what these bars are for. Like, that's what the kids should be doing on them. They're like maybe 3 to 4 feet off the ground, so like that's what they should be doing. And one of the other recess aides was very no, they're not allowed to do that. And I was like, oh, okay, whatever. And I kind of brushed it off. And then one day a kindergartner was hanging sideways on it. She had her knees up there and her hands up there, and she was like, look, I'm being a sloth. And then I was like, oh, that's awesome. Like, you're learning and pretending and all that other stuff. And the other recess aide was like, oh, no, she can't do that. She has to have her head like straight up. And I'm just like, what? She's not upside down. And so then that was when I kind of decided that, like, okay, I'm going to take the next step on this. And I had met with my boss over it. There was some drama towards the end of the year. So he was just kind of like, okay, well, let's just keep the rule the way that it is. And then he met with me about it, and he's like, I understand where you're coming from. Like, if you have any other recess ideas, like, send me an email. We can chat about it, whatever. And so I was like, oh, I will send you an email. So over the summer, I did some research. I read a book called Rethinking Recess by Rebecca London. And I got most of the way through that. That gave me some ideas, but really, like, the underlying reason why I was doing that was so that I could share with him all of the research that I did on hanging upside down and why we should be doing that. I gave him all of the developmental benefits of hanging upside down, how it stimulates the vestibular system, which is in charge of like your sensory system. It's responsible for providing our brain with information about like motion, head position, spatial orientation, and then motor functions such as balance and coordination and posture and all that. So I kind of made this email somewhat like a college paper with bullet points of this, and that. And so I explained to him like everything that I just said, what that vestibular system is. And then when it's stimulated, what those benefits are. And it's body awareness, spatial awareness. It regulates the nervous system. Sorry if you can hear my toddler in the background.
Fine, I like it.
She's part of the chat. But then I also threw in there that some studies show, it's not proven, but some studies show that hanging upside down can actually help with sensory related meltdowns. And so, with elementary school, there are still a lot of kids who struggle with regulating their emotions and having those meltdowns when they're overwhelmed and overstimulated. And that it can also help prevent kids who are unable to sit still or acting impulsively, playing rough, accident prone, fidgety, those ones who always have that urge to run through the hallway when they're supposed to be walking. And this was a lot of new information for me too, because I could remember from like my college days and like doing early childhood trainings and stuff that like, oh yeah, that's good for them. That's good for their development. But I couldn't remember like all of that information.
Exactly what, yeah.
Yes. And so, so I found all that out, and then I put it in the email to him. And then my point that I really drove home was that it bothered me that this particular type of play was labeled as dangerous play, and that we shouldn't be doing it to keep the kids safe. And I am an advocate of safety. I'm not just throwing safety out the door because we don't want kids getting hurt or anything like that. But it really bothered me.
Getting hurt intentionally, right?
Yeah.
So there's a difference there, because kids get hurt whether whether the bar is 3 feet off the ground or whether it's on the ground, right? So it's not. I love the idea of safety second. Right? Safety second, and that risk benefit analysis, which you clearly were doing. And I want you to keep talking about the language shift that you proposed.
Yes. So I told him, I was like, I really don't like how it's labeled as dangerous play. I think that, to be able to look at it with a more developmental benefit, that it should be labeled as risk-taking play. And then I listed all of the benefits for what children get out of taking risks, how it builds their confidence, more self-regulation, self-awareness. It helps them to assess a actual larger risk and danger. If they don't, if they never get the chance to take a risk, then they're not going to know when there is a danger right in front of them and have that assessment of, I don't know if I should be doing that or not. You know what I'm saying? So I tossed that in there. I gave them all the benefits of that. And then I laid out somewhat of a compromise of a way that we could allow the children to hang upside down from these bars while making sure that they're staying safe at the same time. And my suggestion for that was to change the rule to that they have to have their hands on the bars at all times, regardless of which direction they're going. And so I sent the email at that, and a few weeks went by. He had sent me an email back saying that he had it in a folder and was kind of marinating on the information, and that he would know how his thoughts on it and whatnot.
I need your attention, Mom.
Yes.
It's okay. You pick her up. It's fine.
Come here. And then-
We'll keep her with us.
say
Hi,
hi?
welcome.
Hello. Oh, she wants down.
Okay.
And so he touched base with me on it. And I was like, okay, cool. Like, think it over. He had a lot of other things that he was doing at the beginning of the school year because he's the principal and he has a lot to do. So then he basically sent out an email for all 4 of us because there's 4 recess aides with all of the policy changes and the schedule changes and some different rule changes that he wanted to make, and that was on there. And he actually went with my idea, and I really didn't think that he was going to go for it. And so like when I saw that he changed that rule, that yeah, let's do it, let's go for it, let's let them hang upside down, just they got to keep their hands in the bars at all time. He went for it, and I jumped out of my seat. I was so excited. I was like, oh, I can't believe that he changed it. So yeah, it was a definite win. And we are like 3 months into school now. And
Has anybody died?
No, there's we've had a few falls, but they brush the wood chips off, they stand back up, and then they try it again.
Exactly.
Yeah, and I mean, there have been a few kids who have got up there and tried it because there are a lot of gymnasts in our school, and so there are girls who climb up there and they sit on top first, and then they kind of like fall backwards and then flip upside down and then land. And so there have been some kids who see them doing that and they're like, oh, I wonder if I could do that too. And I've had to talk some kids down, like let them know, like, hey, if this is something that you're uncomfortable trying, then we don't want to try it. You know, like if you feel like you're comfortable, I'll stand right here and I'll make sure that like you're not hurt or anything. But I'm like, I want you to feel your body. I want you to listen to your brain. And if you think that this is something that you can hold on tight enough for, that you're not going to fall, then go ahead and try it. If not, then I can help you down if you want. And they are able to figure that out for themselves. Some have asked me to help them down. Others have gone ahead and done the flip and they were just fine. And it's now one of their favorite things to do.
That's I love that. And I know, Deb, you want to jump in. I have one question, and it's, I don't want it to sound like a devil's advocate question, but it might come across as that. I remember hanging upside down on those bars at school. Yes. And I also remember that if your knees are perched over, half the fun was your arms hanging down and touching whatever the surfacing was under there. So as long as, can it be my knees? Cause like a body part touching? Or like if I'm hanging upside down, I have to be reaching back up with half my body up. Paint me a picture of that.
So yeah, they're not supposed to just dangle from their knees and touch the ground. Several of them have, and I don't get them in trouble for it, but I tell them, I was like, listen, hey, Mr. Marshall, he changed the rule for us, and it was a lot of work, and you're supposed to be hanging on to the bars with your hands to keep you more safe. I know there are tons of them, like basically all of the second graders and up can hang from their knees and be just fine.
But maybe that's next year's rule change. That's next year's rule change, right?
Yes, I can hope so. The rule is really just to keep the one recess aide happy. She's very like, this is the rule, we're gonna follow it. She's very strict and rigid, and I would like to keep the peace with her.
You baby stepping your way through though, Korri. That's what's most important. So I have a question about all the research that you sent that principal. That sounds like really good content that we could put in the quarterly play blast for other people who might be having issues with this. Would you mind sending that to me? And we'll give you credit for it, of course, but here's one person's approach to getting
change made
on the playground.
Yeah, absolutely. I saved the email, and I also at the bottom of the email I included the internet links that I used. So I have my original email and the sources that I used to find that information as well. I can send that along to you.
I think that would be really helpful, and we're getting the content ready for the October Play Blast, so that would be wonderful. I think what what you did that other people are fearful of doing is you advocated.
Mhm.
Afraid that the principal won't listen. They're afraid they'll be brushed off. They're afraid that the fear of any confrontation around what you did is going to form relationships or something within the school. So I think your approach was so smart. Here, let me show you why you need to do this. You have them on the playground. You probably, and I don't know, he may or may not have hung upside down on the monkey bars, but boy, I remember, and it was hard dirt and concrete underneath where I was hanging upside down by my knees in elementary school. And
One
so
of the things I'm going to add to that, Deb, is, and Korri even mentioned it in her email to me, because she had seen me at a gig a while back, and obviously it was when I was still pushing, well, I'm still pushing it, but to accept the binder challenge. And
Yeah.
the binder challenge being that, you know, you gather this data and this research so that we are in a position to feel confident enough that it's not just our opinion, right? It's not just what Korri thinks would be fun, or this is what they should be able to do. It's what the research is telling us, right? So there's just that 3 steps of removal that could allow a third party, in this case, a principal or any kind of naysayer, to see that, you know, we're not just looking to break the rules, you know, that there's actual evidence here that supports what we're looking to do. And
I
think
love the binder challenge.
Oh, the binder challenge. Yeah. Anything that you can find that supports what we talk about, that shows that it's not just what we want, right? So when somebody does question it, you're able to say, this is what good practice looks like. And this is the theory and the research that supports it. And in a self-serving way, I was a little excited for the plug to the binder challenge.
The binder challenge. I also have another question, and I don't know if you have enough data yet, but are teachers reporting anything about children's increased self-regulation who are able to do this on the monkey bars? Are they talking about children's behavior changes in the classroom, not running in the hallway anymore? So that whole piece around self-regulation, because that's really
seeing it. Yeah.
Yes. Are we seeing it yet that people are noticing the reason why?
I'm not sure if the teachers have. We've kind of noticed that they're kind of slowing down in the hallways and whatnot. And I think a lot of that is because it's the beginning of the year and we were able to get in right away and kind of help out some of those behaviors. I'm not sure how much of my email he has shared with the teachers, or if he just let them in on the new rules too, because part of the problem last year is that the teachers take the kids out on extra recess and they do not care what the kids do. And so that's a lot of the reason why the kids were hanging upside down during recess is because they would come out with their teachers and they'd be like, yeah, hang upside down, this is the floor, it's cool, whatever. And so I think I'm really glad to be part of a school where there are so many teachers and you know, the principal who understand a lot of that stuff. But I mean, I can ask if they've noticed any difference.
Yeah.
Because I think that would just give us a little more
data,
data that everybody could use. And you know, some people will say, oh, well, the difference is it was the beginning of the year and now we're 3 months in. But you know, sometimes I think it's the underlying, you know, we're looking at the surface thing that we think is the cause of the change and not looking deeper.
Well, the other thing too, Deb, is that by looking deeper, it allows our lens to shift to see the positive. So instead of thinking they're going to fall and break their arm, we're thinking they're going to hang upside down and become more self-regulated in the classroom. And that lens shift probably is more internal work than a principal just changing the rule, right? And so there'll be people that won't push back against the rule, but they're still in that deficit kind of mindset, as opposed to seeing, you know, like, how curious would that be? It's like, like we all know that one kid, right? And the only variable that's really been different is that they can hang upside down And there has been a noticeable decrease in some of the negative quote unquote behaviors that have been observed in the classroom. Okay, so you're writing a doctoral dissertation. So
Yeah, really.
Just go sign yourself up with a university because you're already onto your some data. And that's a very interesting question.
Yes, and the other thing that I'm curious about is on the playground when you're out there and doing that sort of support on the playground as an adult on the playground. What's the difference between the number of boys and the number of girls? Who's doing it more? And if, as in many cases, unfortunately, the boys are the one who need more action and more activity and sometimes can't get that in the classroom.
Yep.
Because they're sitting and listening. I'm curious about that too. Who's trying it? Who's interested in it? And I know you said you had a lot of girls who were in gymnastics. So my guess is they're really interested in it, but I'm curious about that. And then I have another thing that I want to plug that school for. I like extra recess.
Oh yeah. It depends on the grade. I have a kindergartner who he gets to go out for an extra recess. And I know a lot of the first graders do. The second graders, it kind of depends on how they get their work done. My one son is in third grade and they get extra recess just on Fridays. I think if they all turn their homework in or something like that is what my kid said. And the fourth graders, I've seen them out sporadically. So it kind of depends on the grade and the teachers. But the little ones definitely get to go out more than the older ones. I think it's a time thing. And also the younger grades kind of have that understanding is that, the littler they are, they still need more of the movement, whereas the older kids can handle it more. But I mean, since I've transitioned from like early childhood to more of the elementary realm, I'm kind of noticing that there's really not a whole lot of difference between the need to move and being able to sit with, even from, kindergarten to fourth grade, because the fourth graders have just as much energy that they need to get out as the kindergartners do.
And there's an article right there.
Right there.
Early childhood person who moved to elementary, and you're like, well, shut up. The fourth graders still need to do this too.
Yeah, absolutely.
And we should be thinking about that. What are the behaviors that teachers are frustrated with in a fourth grade classroom versus the behaviors that teachers might be frustrated with in a second grade classroom that might get an extra recess. And we could just come and do a whole.
This is one strand at a next year's conference is just this conversation and how all the spokes that come off of this particular conversation for sure.
Yes. Korri, this has been wonderful. Thank you so much for sharing. Please send me that information. We'll stick it in the quarterly play blast and you'll get credit for it. And I think give people some additional resources. Yes.
I'm wondering, Korri, specifically, did you tap into the developmental benefits of playground? Do you remember off the top of your head if that was one of your resources? I'm not testing. I'm just curious because that is such a resource that I don't think many people get their hands on. It specifically lists like the developmental benefits to climbing, to spinning, to swinging, to brachiating, and it is worth the $50 of an investment. So I was curious if you tapped into that book. You don't. I put you on the spot.
No, I don't think. Is it a book?
It is a book. It's got an orangish cover. I actually think Joe Frost might have been the editor of it, and I recommended that book 100 years ago, and there was a school district out in California, again, same kind of email to like your story. They got their hands on the book, and then they presented a PowerPoint at a school board meeting and got recess reinstated in their district because of that same kind of advocacy like you were sharing with us today.
Yeah,
makes my heart
I'll have to look in that book.
And I think the benefits to the children in the school, I mean, you should really be patting yourself on the back and going, look what I've done. This is not a baby thing. This is a big thing that you've been able to convince administration about the importance of not pulling up those monkey bar things, those horizontal bars, and getting rid of them because they're too dangerous, but leaving them there and allowing children to use them currently with their hands on the bars, but they can still be hanging upside down. So I think that's
Absolutely. And that was a comment that my principal had made. He'd said, like, you know, if this playground was put here today instead of like in the 90s, he's like, those bars and the monkey bars wouldn't even be there. And I was
that's
just like,
right.
You
breaks my
saved the
heart.
monkey bars.
Yay.
Woo!
Go.
You
So
need a
Korri,
sticker.
hang in there. Don't go anywhere while I close this out. So to learn more about IPA USA or to subscribe to our Facebook, be a friend, get on our list to have a Porch Play Chat every Monday in your inbox, please go to ipausa.org. And until next time, keep on playing.
Bye-bye.
Bye.